Dust rolled over the empty plains as the dog stopped cold, staring at something hidden in the brush. A faint breath, a trembling hand, and a girl covered in dirt and blood lay where no traveler should ever be. And as the cowboy knelt beside her, a truth he did not expect rose between them like a storm. Why was an Apache girl left to die on his land, and who was coming back for her? A sharp whine cut through the quiet morning as the dog froze beside an old fallen log. The cowboy tugged the reins, confused by the sudden stop, until he saw the dust shifting near the shadows. He swung down from the saddle, boots crunching on dry earth. The plains were silent, too silent, broken only by the soft rattle of wind pushing dead leaves across the ground. "Easy, boy," he murmured, but the dog didn't move. Instead, it lowered its head, ears back, tail stiff, pointing straight toward something half hidden under torn canvas and brush. He stepped closer, and the world narrowed. A wounded Apache girl lay curled in the dirt, her clothes ripped, her skin marked with bruises and dried blood. Her breath came in quick, shallow bursts, as if even the air hurt. One arm shielded her ribs, the other pressed weakly into the ground, trying and failing to rise. Dust clung to her hair, and her bare feet were cut from miles of running. The dog edged forward, gave a soft whine, then gently touched his nose to her shoulder. Her eyes opened, not wide, just enough for the cowboy to see fear flash beneath the pain. She flinched, but didn't pull away. Her voice came out cracked and dry. "Please, don't let them find me." Them. The word hit harder than a bullet. He looked over his shoulder at the open plains, empty, quiet, but something in the air felt wrong. The light was too sharp. The wind carried the faint echo of hooves far in the distance, or maybe it was just his nerves tightening. "You're safe," he said, though he wasn't sure it was true. "Can you stand?" She tried, failed. A soft cry escaped her lips before she bit it down. He knelt beside her, hesitation flickering across his face. Helping her meant taking a side, whether he liked it or not. The frontier didn't forgive men who stepped into other people's fights. But the dog nudged her again, gently, insistently, and something inside the cowboy shifted. He lifted her carefully, and the moment he did, the dog's ears shot up, pointing toward the far ridge. A faint echo rang across the plains. A single gunshot. The cowboy tightened his grip on the girl, heart pounding. Someone out there was coming. And they were close. The cowboy shifted the girl's weight in his arms, feeling how light she was, how cold her skin felt even under the rising sun. The dog walked tight at his side, nose low, growling softly at the empty horizon. The sound of that single gunshot still echoed in his mind, rolling across the plains like a warning bell. "Stay close," he whispered to the dog. The dog answered with a low rumble. The girl stirred weakly. "Don't let them take me back." "Who's after you?" he asked. She swallowed hard. "Riders. 3 of them. Why chase you?" Her lips trembled. "They think I saw something." She didn't say what. She couldn't. Her breaths were too shallow, and pain bent her voice into something thin and frayed. He could ask more, but he knew pushing her now would only break what little strength she had left. He carried her toward his horse, each step careful, steady. The land around them felt wide and exposed, the kind of open that made a man's back itch. Tall grass whispered against his boots, bending in the cold breeze. A lonely church bell rang far off in town, the sound drifting like a memory. He lifted her gently into the saddle, letting her lean forward against the pommel. She clung weakly, knuckles white. The dog circled once, checking the wind, then barked, a sharp, urgent warning. "What is it?" he asked. The dog stiffened, staring at the ridge. Dust drifted there, just a thin cloud at first, barely visible, but enough for a man who lived by watching signs. Someone was riding fast. He felt the hair on his arms rise. "We have to move." He mounted behind her, steadying her with one arm. The dog sprinted ahead, guiding the way toward a narrow trail cut between 2 stony hills. It wasn't far, but reaching it before whoever approached could change everything. The girl whispered, barely audible, "I tried to hide it, but they always find me." "You're safe for now," he said. "No one is safe from them." "Why? Who are they? Her jaw tightened. Men with badges, not honest ones. The words hit like a hammer. A legal threat, more dangerous than a bandit. A badge meant power. A crooked badge meant trouble that didn't end when the day did. He kept the horse moving fast but quiet, letting the land swallow their tracks. His eyes scanned the ground, dry, cracked earth, patches of brush, a fallen fence half buried in dust. Everything around them felt like it was holding its breath. The dog barked once more. This time not a warning, an alert. A fresh set of hoofprints crossed their path, sharp and recent, maybe an hour old, maybe less. The cowboy pulled the reins sharply. "Hold on!" The girl gripped the saddle horn, trembling. He slid down, crouching beside the tracks. The dog stood beside him, nose touching the prints. "3 riders," he muttered. "Heading north." The girl's voice cracked. "That's them." "You sure?" "I heard their horses. 1 limps. Front right." He checked again. 1 print was uneven, deeper on the left. She wasn't guessing. "How far ahead are they?" he asked. "Too close," she whispered. He helped her drink from his canteen, careful not to spill a drop. She coughed, then shivered, and he could feel her strength flickering like a dying fire. "We'll get you somewhere safe to rest," he said. "You shouldn't help me," she breathed. "They'll come after you too." The cowboy met her gaze, even through the pain clouding her eyes. "Someone already shot at us. I'm involved whether I want it or not." She didn't argue. He lifted her back into position, mounted, and nudged the horse forward. The dog ran ahead, tail low, ears sharp. The narrow trail between the hills finally appeared, dark and jagged like a cut through the earth. But before they could reach it, the girl gasped sharply. "They're near," she whispered. "I can feel it." "How?" She pressed a hand over her chest. "They don't hide their anger." The wind shifted then, carrying a sound that made the cowboy's stomach drop. Hooves. Fast. Close. He pushed the horse into a run, gripping the girl tight so she wouldn't fall. Gravel scattered behind them, rattling across stone. The dog barked wildly, urging them to move faster. They slipped into the rocky pass, just as a shadow appeared on the ridge. A rider, then a second, then a third, all looking down at them. Each wore a badge that glinted in the sun. His breath caught. Not bandits, not random hunters, lawmen, or something pretending to be. The lead rider raised his hand, signaling the others to stay still. The dog growled. The girl trembled. The cowboy's grip tightened on the reins. Then the rider's voice rolled across the canyon, cold and steady. "Hand over the girl. Now." The cowboy didn't move. The dog stood bristling at his boot, teeth bare but silent. The girl slumped against his chest, fingers digging weakly into his coat as if she could hold herself there by will alone. "Hand over the girl," the lead rider repeated. "You're trespassing on the law." The words rolled down like stones, calm, polite, deadly. The cowboy called back, voice steady. "What's she done?" "That's not your concern," the rider said. "If your law it is," the cowboy answered. A pause. Then, "She's wanted for questioning." The badge on the man's chest caught the sunlight. It was clean, bright, almost too bright for a man riding this far from town. The other 2 riders flanked him, hands resting light on their holsters, as if this was just another casual day's work. The girl whispered, her lips barely moving. "They killed my family." "You sure?" the cowboy murmured. She nodded, slow, pained. "They came with papers." "Papers? A notice. Said the land wasn't ours." The lead rider nudged his horse closer to the ridge's edge. "You there? Step down. Let's talk like decent men." The cowboy shifted in the saddle, careful not to jar the girl. His fingers brushed the dog's head, a calming touch. "I'm listening," he called. "A ranch was burned 3 nights ago," the rider said. "We're tracking a witness, Apache girl, around her age. We're here to take her in, question her, protect her, if she's innocent." The dog growled at the word protect. The cowboy felt the girl flinch. "They set the fire," she breathed. "I saw it." "You're sure it was them?" "I saw the badges in the flames." He swallowed hard. Legal power twisted into something else. That kind of enemy didn't just shoot. It wrote reports afterward and slept soundly. "I don't see a warrant," the cowboy called. The rider smiled thinly. "You know the word warrant but not obstruction?" "I know both," the cowboy said. "Got either in writing?" The rider lifted a folded paper. "Signed by the marshal in town." "Let me see it then." "Ride up and we'll oblige you," the man answered. It sounded generous. It wasn't. Riding up meant exposing the girl, losing the narrow scraps of cover the rocks offered. The pass gave them one advantage. The riders would have to come down single file if they pushed it. The girl's grip tightened. "Please don't go up there." "I'm not leaving you," he said quietly. "They'll shoot you in the back," she whispered. "They always do." The cowboy took a slow breath. "You have proof she's guilty?" he asked. "She ran," the rider replied. "That's proof enough." "Maybe she ran because you burned her home," the cowboy said. A ripple of amusement passed between the three riders. The second one leaned into the leader. "He talks big for a man with one horse and a dog." The leader raised a hand, silencing him. "I don't want trouble," he called. "But harboring a fugitive is a hanging matter these days. You know that." The dog's growl deepened. The girl shivered against the cowboy's chest. "You have my word," the rider continued. "We'll take her to town. We'll ask our questions. If she's clean, she walks. You can visit her yourself once it's done." It all sounded reasonable. Too reasonable. Each sentence balanced on legal phrases, gentle threats and polite lies. The cowboy replied slowly, "She's hurt. She won't survive a hard ride." "We can bind her to a spare horse," the rider said. "We'll be careful." "She needs a doctor first," the cowboy insisted. "There's one in town," came the answer. The dog glanced up at him, as if asking what he would do. He weighed the air, the land, the distance to his own small ranch. If he turned back now, he might reach his place before nightfall. Thick cottonwoods, an old barn, hidden trails only he and the dog knew. A place where a girl could lie low long enough to breathe again, but those badges would not forget. "Why burn the ranch?" he asked. "What was on that land?" The rider's smile faded. "You're asking questions that don't belong to you." "Maybe they do now," the cowboy said. The leader's hand tightened on the reins. "Last warning, friend. Hand her over, and you ride away. You don't, and this turns ugly. Quick." The girl's whisper came like a ghost. "They want me dead." "You saw too much?" he asked. "Yes." "What exactly?" "Men on horses," she rasped. "With badges, pouring lamp oil, laughing." The cowboy felt his jaw lock. Wind pushed dust between them, soft and dry, like the whisper of a drawn rope over wood. He turned his head slightly, speaking low so only she and the dog could hear. "You trust me?" Her answer was weak, but certain. "I trust your dog." The dog thumped his tail once, never taking his eyes off the ridge. "Then you have me too," the cowboy said. He straightened in the saddle. "I'll take her to town myself," he called. "You want questions answered? We'll answer them before the marshal, not out here." The leader's smile returned, slow and measured. "Afraid that's not how this works." "That's how the law works," the cowboy said. "These days," the rider replied, "the law works how we say." The second rider chuckled. "He thinks he has a say in this." The third spat into the dust. "Man's a fool with a death wish." For a moment, it seemed the leader might order them to fire. His fingers brushed the butt of his revolver, tapping once, twice. Then he exhaled, as if bored. "Fine," he said. "You want things proper. We'll make them proper. We ride with you, all the way to town. I stay in front where we can see you. She stays in the open. No stops, no tricks." The cowboy swallowed. Riding with them meant delivering the girl straight into their hands inside four walls, under their rules, but refusing meant dying here. He nodded once. "Then we ride slow. She's bleeding inside." "We'll allow a slow pace," the leader said. "We're generous men." The dog looked back and forth between them, restless. The girl's breathing hitched, thin and sharp. The cowboy turned the horse slightly, angling toward the wider trail leading away from the pass. The riders began to move along the ridge, preparing to descend and join them on level ground. For a heartbeat, it felt like a small victory. He had avoided a shootout for now. The girl was still in his arms. The dog remained at his side. There was time, somewhere ahead, to find a way out. Then, from far behind them, down the trail they had used earlier, a sound cracked the thin calm. A single, sharp whistle. The dog's ears shot up. The girl stiffened. The cowboy spun in the saddle. Another rider appeared on the distant plain, racing hard, waving a piece of paper high in the air, a telegram envelope, and whoever carried it was heading straight toward them. The dust cloud behind the lone rider rose fast, sharp, urgent. The man leaned forward in his saddle, gripping the telegram envelope high as if it were a torch in the dark. The cowboy's stomach tightened. Nothing good ever arrived on the plains wrapped in paper. The dog barked, short and sharp. The girl whispered, "That's not one of them." "You know him?" the cowboy asked. "No," she said, "but he rides different." The three riders on the ridge saw him too. The leader raised his hand for silence, watching the newcomer with narrow eyes. The second rider muttered, "Who's that fool?" The third spat. "Someone about to die." The telegram rider closed the distance fast, ignoring the danger. His horse kicked up a fierce trail of dirt, hooves hitting the dry earth like hammer blows. When he reached shouting distance, he waved the envelope even higher. "Message!" he cried. "Urgent message for the marshal's men." The lead rider stiffened. "Hold your ground," he barked to his partners. But they exchanged glances, worried ones this time. The cowboy felt the girl sag against him, exhausted. Her voice trembled. They weren't expecting that man. "You think this helps us?" he asked. "I don't know," she whispered, but their faces changed. The telegram rider slowed when he reached the pass, but not enough to hide his fear. His eyes flicked from the cowboy to the girl to the armed riders above. "Who sent you?" the lead rider demanded. "Town clerk," the messenger shouted. "Came this morning, marked urgent." He held the envelope out with a shaking hand. "Bring it here," the leader ordered. The messenger hesitated. I can toss it down." "I said bring it," the leader repeated. The dog growled. The cowboy whispered, "Careful." The messenger swallowed hard, nudged his horse forward, and began climbing the rough path toward the ridge. The envelope fluttered in the wind. The cowboy watched every movement, every twitch of a hand, every shifting shoulder. "Why the telegram?" he asked the girl quietly. "I don't know," she whispered, "but they don't want him close." The cowboy felt it too, an unease that clung like dust to the skin. Something in that envelope mattered, something big. The telegram rider reached the ridge at last and held out the envelope. The leader snatched it from his hand with a sharp movement. He cracked the seal. The wind howled low between the rocks. The dog pressed against the cowboy's knee, sensing tension rising like heat before a storm. The leader read the paper once, twice. His jaw twitched. "What does it say?" the cowboy called. "None of your business," the second rider snapped. The leader folded the telegram slowly, almost too slowly. His fingers were rigid, his posture stiff. The messenger cleared his throat. "Sir, I was told to ask for your confirmation." "You have it," the leader said. "And your response?" "My response is silence." The messenger blinked. "Sir." The clerk said, "My response," the leader said again, softer, colder, "is silence." The messenger's face drained of color. He turned his horse to leave her, but instead of riding down the safe slope, he rushed straight down the nearest descent, slipping on loose dirt and nearly falling. Fear pushed him hard. He galloped away without looking back. The cowboy watched him go. Something inside him hardened. "Telegram trouble!" he called. "Stay out of it!" the second rider shouted. But the leader didn't shout. He simply stared down at the cowboy, a long, unblinking stare that made the air feel colder. "Change of plans," the leader said. The cowboy tensed. "Meaning what?" "Meaning the girl comes with us," the rider replied. "Now, you said we'd ride together to town." "I said many things," the leader answered. Circumstances shifted. The cowboy's grip tightened on the reins. "Show me the telegram." "No," the leader said. "Then I don't believe you." "You don't need to," the girl whispered, terrified. "They know something now." "Maybe," the cowboy said. "No," she whispered, eyes glassy. "They know everything." The third rider pulled his revolver. "We can do this clean," he said. "Or messy." The cowboy's mind raced through every possible move. The pass was narrow. The dog could distract one rider. The horse could bolt forward, but the girl was too weak to hold on without help. He whispered to her, "Can you hold the saddle?" "For a moment," she breathed. He leaned down to the dog. "On my word." The dog's muscles tensed. The leader saw the shift. "Don't try it," he warned. "You're lying about that telegram," the cowboy said. The leader smirked. "Maybe. Maybe not." The wind gusted hard, and the leader's coat flapped open, just long enough for the cowboy to glimpse the telegram's corner sticking from his pocket. The edge was stained. Not with dirt, not with dust. With blood. The cowboy's heart kicked once in his chest. That telegram had not traveled safely. Whoever touched it last had not lived long afterward. The leader noticed his gaze and snapped the coat shut. "Last chance," he said. "Hand her over." The dog growled deep. The girl clung to him and whispering, "Please don't let them take me." The cowboy looked at the three riders above, their hands twitching near their guns, their eyes sharp with fear, not authority, not duty, fear. Then he looked at the narrow path behind them. A sudden gust blew sand across the ridge, blurring vision for just a heartbeat. The leader cursed and shielded his eyes. The cowboy seized the moment. "Now!" he shouted. The dog lunged forward, barking thunder through the pass. And the first gunshot split the air. The gunshot cracked through the pass like lightning splitting dry timber. The cowboy jerked the reins, pulling the horse into a tight pivot as the dog lunged ahead, barking fierce and wild. Dust exploded around them. The girl clung to his coat, her cry swallowed by the echo bouncing off stone walls. "Hold on!" he shouted. She gasped. "I'm trying—" Another shot rang out, closer this time. The dog darted left, forcing one rider to aim off course. A bullet sparked against the rock where the cowboy had been a heartbeat earlier. He pressed low over the girl, shielding her with his body as the horse charged deeper into the narrow cut between the hills. "Don't fall," he warned. "I won't," she whispered, weak but determined. Behind them, hooves thundered as the three riders split, one rushing the ridge's slope, the other two trying to cut them off at the pass's exit. The cowboy pushed his horse hard, but the trail twisted like a snake, dropping into a tight bend that risked breaking a leg if taken too fast. The dog barked again, 3 sharp notes. "Riders behind us?" the cowboy asked. The dog barked once. "And ahead?" A deeper growl. The girl's breath shook. "We're trapped." "Not yet," he said. "Breathe. Stay upright." A bullet whistled past them, ripping a tuft of mane from the horse. The cowboy's jaw locked. "Devils," he muttered. As they reached the bend, he hauled the reins, slowing the horse just enough to pivot. Loose gravel skidded under the hooves. The girl almost slipped, but he caught her with one arm. "You're safe," he whispered. "Am I?" "For now," he promised. They rounded the bend and stopped dead. One rider waited ahead, blocking the trail. His revolver was drawn, steady, aimed right at the cowboy's chest. "End of the line," the rider said. "Hand her over." The dog stood between them, snarling hard enough to shake dust from the ground. The cowboy raised one hand slowly. "She's hurt. Let me take her down alive." "She won't stay alive long," the rider said. "Orders are clear." The girl shook violently. "They want me gone, not questioned." "Why?" the cowboy whispered. "Because the land papers were fake," she said. "I heard them say it." That hit him like a hammer. Land theft disguised as law, murder disguised as justice. The rider ahead lifted his gun higher. "Move aside. Last warning." The cowboy didn't move. "Won't happen. You think one man stops law? You're not law," he said. The rider's face twitched, just enough to show the truth beneath the badge. Behind them, hooves thundered again. The other 2 riders were closing the distance fast. The cowboy looked at the dog. "Go left." The dog took off instantly, racing toward the slope. The rider fired at the dog, missed by inches. "Stop him!" he shouted. But the cowboy didn't stop anything. He kicked hard. The horse surged forward, straight at the rider, blocking the path. Shock flickered across the man's face. He fired, missed, the dog barked, the girl screamed, and the cowboy drove the horse into the man's chest. The collision sent the rider flying. His gun flew into the dirt. His horse reared, bolting sideways and vanishing into the brush. The cowboy's horse stumbled but kept its feet. The cowboy held the girl tight. "Still with me?" She nodded. "Dizzy? I think so." "Good. We've got seconds." Behind them, the two riders burst around the bend, shouting curses. One fired wildly. The bullet chipped stone and sent a shower of grit into the cowboy's eyes. The dog sprinted up the hillside, barking as if trying to lure the riders away. "Don't follow the dog!" one rider yelled. "Get the girl!" The cowboy pushed the horse toward a narrow, rocky chute on the left, a path few men used because it twisted upward at a punishing angle. But horses didn't need a perfect path. They just needed a chance. "Hold tight," he warned. She murmured, "Please don't leave the dog." "I won't," he said. "He's buying us time." The horse climbed, hooves scraping against stone. Each step felt like it might slide back. The girl trembled with every jolt of pain. The cowboy leaned forward, whispering encouragement to the horse, urging it higher. A bullet smacked the rock beside them, exploding dust into their faces. "Hurry!" the girl cried. "I'm trying," he said, spurring the horse again. They crested the top just as a new sound cut the air. A long, low horn. Not from a town, not from a farm, from the canyon to their right. The cowboy froze. The dog appeared beside them, panting, bleeding from a graze along its leg but alive. It growled toward the canyon, ears pinned. "What is that?" the girl whispered. "Not sure," the cowboy answered. The horn sounded again, closer now, echoing across the plains. Below, the riders pulled to a halt. Even they seemed shaken. "What now?" one rider asked. The leader scanned the canyon. "Someone's coming." The cowboy followed his gaze. Far across the ridge, dust rose in a long, deliberate line. Multiple riders, not the three below, and not just one messenger this time. A new force, and heading straight for them. The girl's voice trembled. "Do you know them?" "No," he said. "You think they know you?" "No." The dog snarled, stepping closer to him. The horn sounded a third time, deep, slow, certain. The riders below stiffened. The cowboy's pulse hammered, because whoever approached wasn't hiding, whoever approached wasn't afraid, whoever approached was coming with purpose. And with numbers. He pulled the girl closer as the dust cloud grew taller, wider, heavier. Something big was coming toward the pass, something neither side expected. The cabin door slammed behind them as the cowboy shoved it shut with his shoulder, the wood trembling under the force. Dust drifted from the rafters. He pushed a heavy beam into place, locking out the wind, and the danger riding it. The girl lay on a narrow cot, breathing fast, her eyes glassy with pain. The dog stood guard at her feet, ears high, chest heaving after the long run. "You're safe for now," the cowboy said. "For now," she whispered. "You hurting bad?" "It's not the cuts," she murmured. "It's the fear." He crouched beside her, checking her bandages. "You're bleeding less." "That's not what scares me," she said softly. "What does?" "They don't stop." The cowboy poured water into a tin cup, helping her sip. She winced at the movement. Outside, the wind scraped across the boards like a warning finger. The dog growled low, pacing near the door. "They'll track us," the girl whispered. "Maybe," the cowboy said. "No maybe. They follow until someone breaks." He cleaned her wounds carefully, hands steady even though his heart wasn't. The girl watched him work, her voice a thin thread. "Why help me?" "Because someone should," he said. "That's dangerous." "Most decent things are." The dog barked once, sharp. The cowboy stood. "Stay still. I'll check." He moved to the window, lifting the edge of the curtain just enough to see outside. Nothing but dead grass and a long stretch of empty ridge. No riders, no dust, just stillness. But stillness wasn't safety, not out here. He returned to the girl, lowering his voice. "Tell me again, everything." She swallowed hard. "They said my family owed money." "Debt collectors?" "Not real ones," she whispered. "Men with forged papers." "What kind of papers?" "Land claims. Seals stolen from the courthouse." The cowboy stiffened. Stolen seals meant corruption deep enough to drown whole towns. "What did your family do?" he asked. "We refused to leave," she said. "So they set the fire." "And you?" "I ran." They saw me. The dog growled again, pacing even faster. What else did you see? He asked gently. Her voice dropped lower. A ledger. A ledger. A book, she said. Names. Payments. Land taken. Where is it now? In the ashes, she whispered. The cowboy's jaw tightened. Land theft. Badge abuse. Burned ranches blamed on victims. And now a witness hunted to the edge of the frontier. They need me gone, she said. Gone or silent. The cowboy knelt beside her again. Then we won't let them win. We, she breathed. You, me, and that dog. The dog wagged its tail at hearing his part. For the first time, the girl gave a small, fragile smile, but it faded quickly. How far is town? She asked. An hour's ride. And the marshal. Hard man, the cowboy said, but fair. They'll reach him first, she whispered. Not if we leave early. The girl tried to sit up but gasped, clutching her side. You can't ride like this, the cowboy said. I have to, she replied. They'll burn your home next. The cowboy didn't argue. She was right. He stood, moving to the shelves, searching through jars, cloths, dried herbs. Everything smelled of dust and old timber. The cabin had served him for years, storms, winters, solitude, but never a fight like this. You need rest, he said. We don't have time. Rest buys us strength. Rest buys them distance. He paused. She was right again. Every minute they spent inside these walls, the riders could be circling closer. The dog pressed its nose to a crack in the door, whining softly. What is it, boy? The cowboy whispered. The dog stiffened, growled, then backed away from the door. The girl's breath caught. They found us. Not yet, the cowboy said. But something did. He stepped quietly to the window, lifting the curtain again, this time just enough to see the tree line past the clearing. Nothing moved. He checked the other window. Still nothing. Dog's jumpy, he muttered. He knows danger, the girl replied. The cowboy listened. At first, only the wind. Then, a faint scrape. Not from the door, not from the walls, from underneath. Something or someone was moving beneath the cabin floor. The dog barked wildly, claws scratching at the boards. The girl's eyes widened, fear turning sharp. What is that? She whispered. The cowboy lifted his rifle. Basement hatch, he said. Under the stove. The scraping grew louder, slow, heavy, deliberate. Not an animal, a man. The girl's voice trembled. How did they get under there? They didn't, the cowboy said. There's only one tunnel. What tunnel? The one I sealed years ago. The scraping stopped. Silence filled the cabin. Deep, cold, wrong. Then a single knock echoed up through the floorboards. 3 slow strikes, not desperate, not panicked, measured, as if the person below knew exactly where they were, and exactly who he wanted. The canyon swallowed the gunshot, sending echoes rolling through the stone like distant thunder. The cowboy ducked low in the saddle, shielding the girl as the dog sprinted ahead, weaving between rocks with a fierce, urgent bark. Hold tight, he shouted. The girl gripped his coat with trembling fingers. Her breath hitched every time the horse jolted, but she didn't faint. Something raw, stubborn, kept her awake. Behind them, the riders scattered, dust exploding under hooves. Stop! The leader roared. Cut him off! Yelled the second. Another shot rang out, this one striking the rock beside the cowboy's knee. Chips of stone sliced the air, stinging his face. The dog barked sharply. Left! The cowboy called, trusting the animal's instincts. They veered into a narrow cut between 2 cliffs, the horse's hooves sending gravel sliding down the walls. The girl winced, clutching her ribs. You bleeding worse? He asked. Not yet, she whispered. We'll fix that soon. They won't let you. Let me worry. A third shot cracked behind them, too close. The horse jolted. The girl gasped. They're closing in, she whispered. I know. Ahead, the canyon widened into a stretch of scrubland. The sun hit the earth hard, lighting every patch of sage and brittle grass. No hiding places, no shadows. But the dog didn't slow. The cowboy followed the animal's lead until he saw it, an old fence line, broken and half swallowed by brush. Beyond it, A dried wash wound through the land like a snake. "That ditch deep," he called. "Maybe," the girl breathed. "Maybe's enough." He steered the horse toward the wash. Behind him, hoofbeats thundered louder. The riders were gaining. "Stop running," the leader shouted. "You're making this worse," the cowboy muttered. "It's already worse." They reached the wash just as the dog leapt over the edge. The cowboy pulled back slightly, guiding the horse carefully down the incline. Dirt slid under them. The horse stumbled, then caught itself. The girl's voice was faint. "Why help me?" "Because someone should. Good men die for that. Then they die right." Her head rested weakly against him, but her eyes stayed open. Fear kept her alive. The wash offered some cover, the high dirt walls blocking the rider's aim. The cowboy guided the horse deeper, the dog staying tight to the shadows. For a moment, just a moment, the gunfire stopped. A flicker of hope. Then the leader's voice echoed from above, sharp as a blade. "You can't hide down there. That wash runs out in a mile." "Do we have another way?" the cowboy asked softly. "Yes," the girl whispered. "Where?" "Follow the wind." "The wind?" "It always finds a crack." The dog barked once as if agreeing. The cowboy trusted both. They pressed forward, the wash narrowing until the horse had to move sideways to squeeze through. Thorn branches scraped their boots. Loose gravel slid underfoot. The girl's breathing changed, shallower now. "You fading?" he asked. "Not yet," she said weakly, "but soon. We're close to safety." "No," she whispered. "Close to danger." He didn't ask what she meant. A faint sound drifted from behind, the heavy clatter of horses descending the wash entrance. "They're dropping in," he muttered. The dog growled. He pushed deeper. The wash twisted sharply, forming a blind corner. He slowed the horse, listening. The wind whistled faintly through a crack in the rock wall. "There," the girl whispered. "What is it?" "A way out." He leaned forward and saw it, a narrow opening between two slabs of stone, hidden unless you stood right beside it. Too tight for 3 riders, maybe tight enough for 1 horse. "Dog first," he said. The dog slipped through, tail low, disappearing into shadow. He guided the horse toward the opening. The animal hesitated, ears pinned. "Easy," the cowboy murmured. "How can do it?" The horse squeezed through the rock, scraping saddlebags and iron shoes. The girl bit back a cry as the saddle jolted against her wounds. "You all right?" "Keep going," she whispered. They emerged into a hidden pocket of land, small, sheltered by stone walls, scattered with dead brush and fallen branches. A place untouched by riders, a place few would ever find. The dog sniffed the air, tense but quieter now. For the first time since the gunshots started, the cowboy let himself breathe. "We'll rest a moment," he said. "No," the girl whispered urgently. "They'll follow the wash. They'll check every side." "We'll move soon," he said. "Soon isn't fast enough." She pointed weakly at the far side of the pocket. A narrow deer trail climbed the rocks. "That way," she said. "You sure you can hold on?" "No," she admitted. "But try—" Before he could lift the reins, a sound cut through the stillness, a single clatter of falling rock. Above them, the dog spun around, barking in alarm. The cowboy looked up and saw a silhouette standing on the ridge directly over their hiding place. One of the riders had found them. His revolver hung loose at his side, and he wasn't alone. The canyon walls tightened around them as the cowboy pushed deeper into the narrow pass, the wounded girl leaning against him with fading strength. The dog led the way, nose low, checking every shadow. The air felt heavy, thick with dust and something colder, fear settling like a layer of frost. "You holding on?" the cowboy asked softly. "Barely," she whispered. "You tell me if you slip." "I won't slip," she breathed. "Not yet." Her voice was thin as paper, but steady enough to keep his heart anchored. The echo of gunfire still rang in the cowboy's ears. He replayed it, wondering which rider had fired and whether they would track blood, footprints, or pure rage to chase him down. "They won't stop," she murmured. "I know. They chase anything that sees them wrong." "Then we outrun wrong," he said. The dog barked once, short, urgent. The cowboy pulled the horse back into a slower walk. The dog sniffed the ground, then stared at the rocks above. "What is it?" the cowboy asked. The girl held her breath. "Something's watching." A stone clattered down from the ridge. The cowboy reached for his rifle, keeping one arm around the girl so she wouldn't fall. The dog growled, tail stiff. Another stone rolled. Then silence. "Show yourself," the cowboy called. No answer. Only the whistle of wind cutting between the canyon walls. The girl shivered. "It's not them." "How do you know?" "They breathe loud. This breath was soft." The cowboy scanned the ridge carefully, eyes narrowing. "Animal!" "No," she whispered. "Two legs." A chill ran through him. Someone else was out here. Someone waiting. He turned the horse around slowly, checking the shadows behind them. Nothing but dust and rock and dead air. "We keep moving," he said. "Where?" "To the river bend. It's hidden." "They know those trails." He gave a grim half-smile. "But they don't know mine." The dog broke into a trot again, leading them toward the bend in the pass where the canyon opened into a wider stretch of dry grass and broken trees. The horse's hooves made soft thuds, too soft. The cowboy felt the girl sliding. "Stay with me," he murmured. "I'm trying," she whispered. "You're doing fine." She gave a weak nod and leaned against him again. They reached a small clearing where the canyon widened enough for sunlight to cut through. The dog circled once, sniffing the edges. The cowboy lifted the girl gently from the saddle and laid her on a patch of fallen leaves. Her breath hitched, but she didn't cry out. The dog sat close, guarding her. He checked her wounds quickly. "You need stitching." "I need water," she said softly. "You'll have both. Hold on." He lifted his canteen to her lips. She drank a little, coughing. "Thank you." "You're safe right now," he said. "Only for a moment." The dog barked sharply. The cowboy stood fast, rifle ready. "Again." "Yes," the girl whispered. Same breath. A figure stepped out from behind a twisted juniper tree. A young man, clothing torn, eyes frantic, hands raised. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he cried. The cowboy didn't lower his gun. "Explain fast." "I'm running," the man said, "from the same 3 riders." "How'd they pick you?" "I worked at the burned ranch," he said. "I saw too much." The girl gasped. "You survived?" He nodded fast. "Barely. I hid under a wagon." The cowboy stepped closer, rifle still aimed. "What's your story?" "They torched the house," the man said breathlessly. "Said the land belonged to the county. Said the family resisted." "And the family?" the cowboy asked. His eyes darkened. "They shot everyone who ran." The girl covered her mouth, tears rising. "My uncle, my cousins." The man nodded slowly. "I'm sorry." The cowboy lowered the rifle slightly. "You carrying a weapon?" "No," the man said. "I dropped it when they chased me." The dog sniffed him, tail low, cautious but not hostile. The cowboy studied the stranger carefully. Desperation lived in his face, but no lies, not yet. "You followed us?" the cowboy asked. "Yes," the man answered. "Your trail was the only safe path. I didn't know if you'd shoot." "I still might," the cowboy said. "I understand," the man said. The cowboy looked at the girl. "You believe him?" She nodded weakly. "His voice? It's scared, honest scared." The cowboy gestured with his chin. "Sit. Quiet." The man sat, shaking, glancing at the canyon walls every few seconds. "They won't stop," he whispered. "Not till everyone who saw them burn that ranch is dead." "That includes you," the cowboy said. "And her," he nodded toward the girl. "And you," the cowboy added. The man swallowed hard. "Yes." The cowboy felt the land shift around them, the warm air turning colder. The pass behind them was silent, too silent, like something holding its breath and waiting. "We can travel together," the man said. 3 is safer." "Maybe," the cowboy replied. The girl whispered, "They'll find us soon." The man nodded. "I know." The cowboy turned his gaze toward the long stretch of trail ahead, sunlight catching dust, brush swaying like warning hands. He felt time tightening around them. "We head north," he said. "There's a ridge," the man started. "That ridge is a trap," the cowboy cut in. The man blinked. "You know the land well?" "Well enough," the cowboy answered. The dog suddenly froze. A faint metallic clink echoed across the canyon. The cowboy's blood ran cold. The man stiffened. "Did you hear that?" The girl's breath trembled. "That's a spur," the dog growled, low and deep. Another metallic clink. Then a voice rolled through the canyon, smooth as polished rope. "Thought you could run?" The cowboy grabbed the girl, pulling her close. On the cliffs above them, silhouettes. 3 riders, guns drawn. The leader's voice cut the air. "We finish this now." The barn walls shook as the wind pressed against them, rattling loose boards like bones in a box. The cowboy held the door shut with his shoulder, heart pounding. Outside, hooves thundered across the frozen ground, circling, searching, stopping, listening. The dog crouched beside him, teeth bared but silent, ready to leap. The girl sat against a hay-stacked corner, wrapped in an old blanket. She looked pale, breath shallow, eyes fixed on the doorway as if she could see straight through the wood. "They're close," she whispered. "I know," he said. "They won't leave." "They'll leave," he told her, though his voice wasn't sure. A gun scraped metal outside. A rider spoke low. "Barn's small, smoke them out." Another answered, "Marshall said nothing of fire." "We're not doing fire," the first man said. "We drive them out clean." The cowboy cursed under his breath. He slid across the barn floor and knelt beside the girl. "You stand." "For a little," she said. "You'll need to—" "Where do we go?" He pointed toward a small hatch halfway up the back wall. "Old root cellar. Tunnel runs to the creek bed." Her eyes widened. "Will they follow?" "Not if they don't know it's here." The dog growled when footsteps creaked outside the rear wall. "We need time," the cowboy whispered. The girl's voice was faint. "I can help." "You rest," he said. "No, I can help." Before he could reply, a voice boomed outside, firm and falsely calm. "Cowboy, come out now. Bring the girl. Let's end this civil." The cowboy pressed his back against the door. "You want civil? Go get the marshal." "We are the marshal's men," the voice answered. "Then show the papers." "Not required now." A silence fell, dangerous, heavy. Then the second voice returned, softer. "Hand her over. No rope for you, just steps away free, you have my word." The cowboy laughed once, bitter. "Your word is dust." A fist slammed against the door. The girl struggled to her feet. "They'll break in." "Not if we move first." "How?" He looked at the dog. "Noise. You draw them." The dog's ears shot up. He understood. The cowboy lifted the girl carefully and guided her toward the hatch ladder. Her hands shook, but she climbed, slow, trembling, determined. He whispered upward, "Slide into the tunnel. Stay low. I'll follow." She hesitated. "What about them?" "I'll slow them." "Now go." The dog barked suddenly, loud, sharp, explosive. He tore across the barn floor and slammed into a stack of old crates, sending them crashing. Dust exploded upward. Wood cracked. Something metal clattered. Outside, the riders shouted, startled. What was that? "Dog!" "He's loose." "Go, back door." The cowboy climbed the ladder behind the girl. "Hurry," he whispered. The girl crawled into the dark tunnel, breath ragged. The earth smelled cold and damp, pressing close on both sides. Behind them, the barn door burst inward. Gunmen stormed in. "There!" one shouted. "Ladder!" Shots cracked. Splinters flew past the cowboy's boots. He dropped into the tunnel and slammed the hatch closed above his head. A bullet punched through the wood. "Move," he urged. The girl crawled faster, hands sliding over packed dirt. The cowboy followed close behind, shoulders scraping the narrow walls. The dog squeezed in last, tail tucked, but silent and brave. Above them, footsteps ran across the barn floor. One rider yelled, "That hatch leads somewhere. Find where. Spread out. Check the creek." The tunnel sloped downward. The girl gasped as she scraped her knee on a stone. "How long?" "Not far," he said. "You're doing well." A small smile flickered, just enough to show she was still fighting. The faint sound of running water grew louder. The tunnel opened into a shallow pit beneath tangled roots. A thin sheet of winter light shone through the gaps. The cowboy lifted the girl gently out first. The dog scrambled beside her. Then he climbed out and crouched low. The creek bed ran empty this time of year. Nothing but cracked clay and a few stubborn weeds. On either side, thick brush cast shadows long enough to hide 3 people and a dog. He scanned the ridge above. No riders yet. "We move along the dry bed," he whispered. "They'll check the hills first." The girl nodded, holding the blanket tight. "My family hid here once. That what saved you?" "No," she whispered. "I ran farther than they did." Silence fell between them, soft, heavy, honest. The dog bumped his leg, urging him forward. They followed the creek bed north, step by step, breath by breath, but after only minutes of quiet, the girl stiffened. "Stop!" "What is it?" "Listen." He listened. At first, nothing. Then, distant, faint, metal sounded. Not gunmetal, not spurs. A bell, a small one, rhythmic, steady. The cowboy frowned. "Where's that coming from?" She pointed ahead, trembling. "Not ahead, beneath." He crouched and pressed his ear to the earth. The bell rang again, closer than it should be. A hidden signal, a buried marker, or something moving under the old creek bed. The dog barked once, more sharply, tail low. The cowboy stepped back as the ground under his boot shifted, just slightly, but enough to feel wrong. The girl whispered, "We're standing above something." The cowboy's breath froze in his throat. Then the earth cracked. A wooden trapdoor, hidden beneath dirt and weeds, jolted upward, and a hand reached out. Night pressed in heavy as iron, turning the canyon walls into tall, silent judges. The cowboy guided the wounded girl through the narrow cut, while the dog trotted ahead, ears flicking at every sound. The firelight from the fallen riders flickered far behind them, a reminder of the chaos they'd barely escaped. Yet the air felt different now, thicker, colder, as if something unseen kept pace with them in the dark. "We can't stay here," the girl whispered. "I know," the cowboy said. "They'll regroup," she breathed. "They always regroup." "We'll move quiet," he replied. "Use the dark." A dry wind slid through the canyon, carrying the smell of ash and horses. The girl winced with each step. Her ribs were wrapped in the cowboy's spare cloth, but she walked on her own now, barely. "You need rest," he said softly. "Rest kills more than running," she answered. "You'll fall." "Then I fall with purpose." The dog suddenly stopped and gave a low warning bark. The cowboy knelt, touching the ground with 2 fingers. Tracks, fresh ones, boot prints, 3 sets, deep, heavy, purposeful. "They got ahead of us," he murmured. The girl stiffened. "No, those aren't theirs." "Then whose?" "Someone else watching." The canyon narrowed until the walls nearly touched. Moonlight spilled thin silver lines across the ground. The dog's growl deepened. "Keep behind me," the cowboy whispered. A small sound echoed, metal lightly striking stone. Not close, not far, just enough to stir the air. The girl grabbed his coat. "That's a signal." "You sure?" "I heard it before." Not from them. From someone tracking them. Tracking the riders, or tracking her. The cowboy scanned the shadows. "Anyone who followed us should have shown by now." "Not if they fear the badges," she said, "or if they want us cornered." Her silence told him she feared both. They moved forward again, slower. The path widened at last into a basin of sand and scattered stone. Moonlight poured down freely here, no cover, no trees, no brush. Only the long, open quiet of a place meant for confrontations. The dog stepped into the clearing first, then froze. The cowboy saw why. A lantern flickered on a boulder at the far end of the basin, wind-blown but steady enough to illuminate a tall outline standing behind it. A lone rider, coat torn, hat low, badge glinting like a cold eye, but not one of the 3. The girl inhaled sharply. "That's the one who followed them." "You're certain?" "He rode near my home before the fire, always behind, never speaking." The cowboy kept his hand near his holster. "What do you want?" he called. The man didn't move. Only his voice carried across the sand. Calm, level, wrapped in something colder than the night. "You're carrying trouble," he said. "Not my choice," the cowboy answered. "Choices don't matter. Consequences do." The girl trembled. He knew the others, but he never joined them. The cowboy asked, "Are you with those riders?" "No," the man replied. "I watched them." "Why?" "To see how far they'd go." The dog barked once, sharp. The girl whispered, "Don't trust him." "I'm not planning to," the cowboy murmured. The lone rider stepped forward. Moonlight revealed his face, lined, tired, eyes that carried too much knowing. "You have something they want," he said. "Or someone." The cowboy stayed still. "You know why they burned her home?" "Yes." "You know what they're hiding?" "Yes." "Then tell us." "No." The cowboy's jaw tightened. "Why not?" "Words travel," the man said, "and dead men can't carry them." The girl swallowed hard. "You're warning us?" "I'm offering a way out." A way out. That phrase weighed heavy. "What kind of way?" the cowboy asked. The lone man lifted a hand. "Walk her to the valley fork at dawn. Leave her at the old telegraph post. Ride away before the sun clears the ridge." "And then?" the cowboy asked. "Then she disappears, and you live?" The girl whispered, "Disappear means dead." The cowboy said, "Not happening." The rider answered, "Then you die beside her, plain truth." The cowboy's voice hardened. "Why protect killers with badges?" "I protect nothing," the man replied. "But I've seen how this ends. And this," he gestured at the girl, "is the kind of truth men bury with dirt and law." A long silence settled. Finally, the cowboy asked, "Why warn us at all?" "Because I don't like the ones on that ridge," the man said. "But liking is not saving." The dog growled, stepping closer to the cowboy. The girl whispered, "He wants us to choose our grave." "Not tonight," the cowboy said. "We keep moving." The cowboy guided her backward toward a side path. The lone man didn't stop them. He only said one more thing, soft, almost regretful. "They already know where you're headed. Dawn will not save you." The cowboy didn't answer. He led the girl into the shadowed path, the dog close behind. Wind swept in as they moved, a sudden, harsh gust that nearly knocked the girl off balance. Sand whipped across their faces. Then they heard it. Hooves, not behind, not ahead, above. The ridge on both sides filled with silhouettes, dozens, more riders than before. Badges glinting in the moonlight, guns ready. The girl clutched the cowboy's coat. "They brought the whole division," she whispered. The cowboy's breath steadied, slow and cold. The dog braced, snarling. From the ridge, a familiar voice echoed. "Nowhere left to run. Hand her over before the sun rises or no one walks out." The moon dimmed behind a cloud, and the canyon closed in around them like a noose. The canyon wind cut through the narrow trail as the cowboy steadied the wounded girl against his chest. The dog trotted just ahead, ears flat, tail low, scanning every shadow. The sun was slipping behind the ridge, turning the land into long strips of gold and dark. The girl's breaths came thin, sharp, each one a reminder they were running out of time. "You doing all right?" he asked softly. "A little," she whispered. "You're shaking." "I'm trying," she said. "You're doing fine." The dog stopped suddenly, nose pointed toward a bend in the trail. The cowboy halted the horse and listened. Nothing but the slow hum of distant cicadas, but the dog didn't move. "What is it?" the cowboy asked. The dog whined, a warning, not fear. The girl pressed her hand to the cowboy's arm. "They split up," she breathed. "3 behind us, but another rider went ahead." "You sure?" "I heard the hooves," she said. "Different stride. Lighter." That meant one thing. Someone was waiting up the trail, someone planning to cut them off. The pass narrowed ahead, barely wide enough for a horse and rider. If a man waited there with a rifle, there'd be nowhere to dodge. "We can't go forward," the cowboy murmured. "Then where?" she asked. He scanned the ridgeline. "We climb." "I can't climb," she said weakly. "You won't. The horse will." He guided the horse toward a rough slope, cut into the cliffside. It wasn't a trail, it was barely even ground. But it might take them above the ambush point. The dog scrambled ahead, claws scraping stone. The horse hesitated. The cowboy touched its neck. "Easy, just a little higher." The animal obeyed, hooves digging for grip. Halfway up, a rifle cracked below. A bullet sparked off the rock inches from the horse's flank. The horse lurched. The girl cried out. The cowboy held her tight. "Keep going," he shouted. The dog barked furiously, rushing back and forth as another shot rang out, dust exploding near its paws. The girl clung to the cowboy's coat, trembling. "They won't stop," she whispered. "They will," he said. "They have to breathe sometime." When they reached a ledge wide enough to rest, he pulled the horse behind a rock outcrop. The dog crouched low, panting hard. Below them, a figure on horseback moved slowly along the pass, searching for a clear shot. The cowboy watched the rider. "He's waiting for us to panic." The girl wiped blood from her lip. "Then don't panic." He gave her a faint smile. "Trying my best." More hoofbeats echoed from behind. The rest of the riders were nearing the curve, closing in. The girl's eyes filled with dread. "They're pushing us," she whispered. "Driving us somewhere." "I know," he said. "Why?" she asked. He looked at her. "Because you saw what they did. And men like that don't leave witnesses." The girl shuddered. The cowboy squinted at the ridge above. There was a narrow shelf, steady enough for the dog, maybe for him, maybe not for the horse. But if they didn't move, the riders would pin them down. He touched the dog's head. "Go check the upper path." The dog barked once and sprinted upward, disappearing over the lip of stone. Moments later, the dog returned, tail stiff, panting hard. "That bad?" he asked. The dog whined and nudged him toward the shelf. "All right," he whispered. "We go." He slid from the saddle, helped the girl down, and held her close as her knees buckled. She tried to stand, but her legs failed. "I can't," she breathed. "Yes, you can," he said gently. "Lean on me." They climbed step by shaky step, the dog guiding them with soft barks. Below, the riders spotted movement and shouted. "There!" one yelled. "Shoot him off the rocks!" another ordered. A bullet chipped the stone beside the cowboy's boot. Another tore a line across the rock near the girl's shoulder. She gasped. "Hurry!" she whispered. "Please!" He lifted her into his arms and pushed upward with everything he had left. His lungs burned, his arms shook. Dust filled his mouth. A shot whistled past his ear. Then, finally, the upper shelf opened into a hidden hollow carved by wind. They made it. For a moment, he let himself breathe. But the girl didn't. She collapsed against his chest, lips parted, breath barely there. "Stay with me," he said. Her voice faded. "I'm cold. You're safe now." "No," she whispered. "They're still coming." He looked down the canyon. The riders were already climbing after them, dismounting and scaling the rocks like men driven by something deeper than orders. The dog growled. The cowboy held the girl tighter and stared at the shifting dust below. The riders were climbing faster than he expected, and then he saw it. The leader wasn't climbing, he was lighting a fuse, a long fuse, running toward a crate wedged against the canyon wall, the crate marked with a black X, explosives. The leader looked up at the cowboy, smiled thinly, and touched his hat. The fuse sparked to life. The night deepened into a heavy blue, the kind that settled on the plains like a blanket of cold iron. The cowboy's horse moved carefully through the narrow ravine, each hoofstep echoing between stone walls. The wounded Apache girl clung weakly to his coat, breath shaking. The dog stayed close, ears swiveling at every sound. Behind them, no hoofbeats. Yet. But the cowboy didn't trust silence. Not from men like those. "We're almost through," he whispered. The girl trembled. "They won't stop." "They'll lose the trail," he said. "No," she breathed. "They know this land too." The dog growled softly, sniffing the air. A faint metallic scent drifted through the ravine, burnt powder mixed with cold night wind. "Someone fired again," the cowboy muttered. "Not at us," she whispered. "Then at who?" She shook her head. Another voice in the dark. He didn't like the sound of that. The ravine twisted sharply, opening into a small basin where the moonlight spilled across dry rock. The girl lifted her head, sensing something. "Someone stood here," she whispered. "How can you tell?" he asked. "The dust, the quiet, the ground listens." He didn't argue. She'd survived this long by noticing what others ignored. The dog paced the edges of the clearing, nose low, tail stiff. Then it stopped dead. "Talk," the cowboy whispered to the dog. The dog gave a single, low bark. Movement. The cowboy pulled the horse back into the shadows, shielding the girl as much as he could. The dog braced at his side, muscles trembling. A faint scrape echoed across the basin. Then another. Something dragged along stone. The cowboy whispered, "Someone's hurt." The girl whispered back, "Or pretending." A figure stumbled into view, clutching his ribs. Moonlight washed over torn clothes, shaking hands, and a badge hanging crooked from his vest. One of the lawmen. But not one of the three. This man was older, leaner, breath ragged. He dropped to his knees, coughing. The cowboy didn't move. The dog didn't either. The girl's grip tightened. "He's running from them." "You sure?" "Yes," she whispered. "His fear smells different." The man looked around wildly, trying to find balance. His voice cracked. "Please, someone, help." The cowboy stepped forward only enough that the moonlight touched his boots. The lawman froze. "Coyote, stay back, don't shoot." "No gun raised," the cowboy said. "Then stay there. I'm not after you." "You carry a badge," the cowboy said. "Not theirs," the man gasped. "Not anymore." The girl whispered, "He lies." But the cowboy wasn't sure. "Why run?" the cowboy asked. "Because," the man wheezed. "They killed the marshal." The cowboy's breath caught. The girl stiffened. "I told you." Everything broke. The lawman coughed into his sleeve. "He got a telegram this morning. Said 3 deputies claimed a witness needed retrieval. He called them in. But they weren't deputies anymore." "Not really." "What were they?" the cowboy asked. The lawman's voice lowered to a shiver. "Land agents, paid by a company, using badges to force families off disputed land. When the marshal confronted them, they shot him in his own office." The girl closed her eyes, pained. "My family's land." The lawman nodded weakly. "Yours wasn't the first." The cowboy felt something cold settle inside his chest. The lawman pointed a shaking finger at the girl. "They want her gone because she saw them burn that homestead. She's proof. She's danger." "And you?" the cowboy asked. "I tried to stop them," he said. "They turned on me, left me for dead." The dog growled. The cowboy's grip tightened on the reins. "Why follow us?" he asked. "To warn you," the lawman rasped. "They're not chasing justice, and they're cleaning witnesses." The girl whispered, "He tells truth now." But too late. Her breath weakened again. She sagged forward. The cowboy cursed under his breath. "She needs rest." "No time," the lawman whispered. "They'll come through this ravine. They'll follow tracks. They always do." The cowboy scanned the cliffs. "There, another way out." "One trail," the lawman said. "Steep. Rough. But it leads to the old mining road. They can't follow fast." "Show us," the cowboy said. The lawman shook his head. "I can point. That's all I have left." He lifted a trembling hand toward the northern wall. A narrow crack between 2 boulders led upward into darker rock. "That path," he said. "But move quick. They know this place." The dog barked sharply. Once. The cowboy's stomach dropped. That bark meant one thing. Hooves. Far behind. Coming fast. The lawman's eyes widened. They found the ravine. The cowboy reached for the reins. "We're leaving." The girl whispered, "Will he come?" The cowboy looked at the broken lawman. "Can you ride?" "No," the man said, "but I can slow them. Buy you minutes." "That's a death choice," the cowboy warned. The man nodded. "Already made." He pushed himself upright, staggering. "Get her out. Tell town the truth. Tell everyone." The dog barked again, louder now. Hooves thundered into the basin. Shadows spilled across the rocks. 3 riders emerged at the far entrance, guns drawn, badges gleaming under moonlight like the eyes of wolves. The leader smiled when he saw them. "There you are," he said softly. The cowboy kicked the horse toward the narrow trail. The girl clung to him with the last of her strength. The dog sprinted ahead. Behind them, a gun cocked, and the leader's voice rolled across the night. "Bring me the girl. Dead or alive." The canyon walls funneled the wind into a low roar as the cowboy pushed the wounded girl deeper into the narrow trail. The dog stayed glued to his side, ears flat, growling at every echo behind them. The riders' shouts bounced off the stone. Metal scraped. Hooves struck loose gravel. The chase was tightening. "Keep moving," he whispered. The girl gasped. "I can't breathe." "You can. Hold on. I'm slowing you," she said. "You're staying alive," he answered. The trail narrowed ahead, squeezed between jagged boulders, a perfect trap, a perfect place for an ambush. The dog stopped suddenly, barking at a faint sound beyond the rocks. "What is it?" he asked. The dog barked again, short, hard. The girl's eyes widened. "Someone's there." A shadow moved. A man stepped out, dust-covered, shaking, holding a torn satchel. The same telegraph rider. His breath hitched when he saw them. "So you need to turn back," he cried. "Why?" the cowboy demanded. "They'll kill you," the rider said. "They killed the marshal." The cowboy froze. "What?" "They forged the warrant," the messenger whispered. "They run the town now." The girl let out a broken sound, equal parts fear and grief. "I knew it," she whispered. "They killed everyone." Behind them, hoofbeats slammed closer. "What's in the satchel?" the cowboy asked. The messenger held it up. "The real telegram. The truth." "Give it," the cowboy said. The man handed it over, trembling. Inside was a second telegram, unsigned, unsealed, and a set of burned papers with government markings. "What is this?" the cowboy asked. "Proof," the messenger said. "Land contracts, forced claims. They burned her home to steal the territory." The girl shook, gripping the cowboy's coat. "They said we owed taxes," she whispered. "You never owed anything," the messenger said. "They wanted the land, not justice." A rifle cracked behind them. The rock beside the cowboy exploded in dust. "They found us," the messenger cried. The cowboy pulled the girl close. "We don't run anymore." "What do we do?" she whispered. "We show the truth," he whispered, "even if they bury us for it." The riders emerged at the mouth of the trail, silhouettes lined in the sharp sun. The leader rode forward, revolver drawn. "End of the road," he said softly. "Hand her over." The cowboy raised the telegram. "I know what you did." The leader tilted his head. "Do you think that matters out here?" "It matters to the truth," the cowboy said. The second rider laughed. "Truth doesn't live on these plains." The dog growled, stepping between the cowboy and the riders. The leader gestured casually. "Shoot the messenger." "Then the cowboy," the messenger screamed, ducking behind a rock. The cowboy spoke fast, voice low. "Listen to me," he said to the girl. "When I stand, you crawl behind that boulder. Stay low." "No," she whispered. "You must." "What about you?" "I'll buy time." The riders cocked their guns. Metal clicked like bones breaking. The cowboy rose slowly, hands lifted. "You want me?" "You got me," he said. "But let the girl walk." The leader smiled. "That's not how this ends." The cowboy dropped his voice. "Dog, now!" The dog sprang forward like a bullet, slamming into the second rider's horse. The animal reared, throwing the rider backward, his gun fired wild into the sky. The girl crawled behind the boulder, wincing with every movement. "Stay down!" the cowboy shouted. The leader fired. A bullet ripped past the cowboy's shoulder. He dove behind a rock, returning fire with measured shots. The messenger screamed, "They'll kill us all." "No," the cowboy said, "not if we stand." The leader called out, "You can't win." "I don't need to win," the cowboy said. "Just hold you back." The dog snarled, dodging another shot. The cowboy fired again, hitting the third rider's arm. The man dropped his weapon with a yell. The leader growled, "You're losing this fight." The cowboy answered, "Then come down and finish it." The leader dismounted, slow, confident. He walked forward, revolver steady. The cowboy's heart pounded. The trail narrowed around them like a closing fist. The leader aimed at the boulder where the girl hid. "This ends now." The cowboy lunged from cover. A single shot cracked the air. The leader staggered, then fired again. The cowboy hit the ground hard, dust exploding beneath him. The dog barked wildly, jumping at the leader's arm. The leader kicked the dog aside and marched toward the girl. She crawled back, breath shaking, eyes full of terror. The cowboy dragged himself up, blood dripping from his sleeve. "Stop!" he shouted. The leader smirked and raised his gun at the girl's head. Then the wind shifted, and from behind the boulder, the girl lifted the burned papers, the proof of the stolen land, holding them high for the sun to catch. The leader's face dropped. The cowboy whispered, "That's your ending," and he fired. Dawn crept slow across the plains, laying pale gold over the wounded land. Smoke from the long night's battle hung low, clinging to the cottonwoods like a stubborn ghost. The cowboy stood beside the dying fire, coat torn, knuckles raw, ribs aching from every breath. The dog leaned against his leg, tail still, nose lifted to catch every scent drifting on the cold morning wind. Behind them, across the dry creek bed, the three false lawmen lay where justice had finally stopped them. No words marked their end, only the rising sun, and the lonely silence that follows when danger breaks and life begins again. The girl sat wrapped in a blanket on the flat river stone. She watched the light return to the world with the quiet focus of someone who had spent too many nights waiting for it. Her breathing was steadier now, cleaner, stronger. Still hurt but alive, the cowboy knelt beside her. "How's the pain?" "Less," she said softly. "Good," he answered. "You made it through." She touched the side of her ribs. "I didn't think I would." "You did," he said. "You kept fighting." She lowered her eyes. "You fought for me." "I fought because someone had to," he said. "That's not true," she whispered. "Most would have walked away." He didn't respond. Words felt too small beside the truth of what they had survived. The dog nudged her knee, and she smiled for the first time, faint and fragile, like a flower trying to bloom in hard soil. "You saved me too," she said to the dog. The dog wagged once, proud and solemn. The cowboy rose to pack the last of their supplies. "When you're strong enough, I'll take you north," he said. "There's a settlement there. Folks who don't ask questions. They'll give you shelter." She hesitated. "And you?" "I'll come back south," he said. "My land needs tending." Silence stretched thin. "You don't have to leave," she said. "I thought you wanted distance from all this," he replied. "I want distance from men who carry lies," she said, "not from men who carry truth." He looked toward the horizon. Dust lifted in the faint morning wind. Birds crossed overhead, calling to each other in clear voices. For the first time since he found her, the land didn't feel heavy, it felt open, a place where something new could grow. He spoke quietly. "If I stay, there'll be questions. Folks will talk." "They always talk," she said. "But talking isn't danger. You warned me once that helping me meant choosing a side. You chose. I choose too." He looked at her, then, really looked. A wounded girl who had lost her home. A survivor who stood back up anyway. Someone the world tried to erase, but who refused to disappear. "You're sure?" he asked. She nodded. "I don't want another long road alone." He breathed out slowly, something in him easing for the first time in years. "All right," he said. "Then you stay, as long as you need." Her eyes softened. "As long as you want." The dog barked once, nudging both of them, impatient for the next step of the journey. The cowboy helped her onto the horse, careful with her injuries. The dog trotted ahead, tail high, leading them toward a valley washed clean by the night's passing rain. Wildflowers glimmered between the stones. A small river shimmered in the distance. A new beginning waited there. As they rode, she leaned back against him, not out of weakness, but trust. "What happens now?" she asked. He looked at the road stretching forward, wide and unmarked. "We build something," he said. "Slow, honest, quiet, whatever comes. And the men who hunted me." He shook his head. "No one left to chase you." The sky opened fully then, bright and warm, and for a moment the world felt almost gentle. The dog barked again as if agreeing. Together they rode toward the rising sun, not healed, not fixed, but alive, and walking toward a life earned through dust, fire, and the courage to stand together when fear said to run. If this story moved you, if you felt the dust, the danger, the silence, and the fragile hope rising from it, then don't leave just yet. Stories like this one take heart, time, and deep care to create, and your support helps bring each new chapter to life. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a journey like this again. There's always another trail, another secret, another fight for truth waiting just around the bend. And if you want more tales of courage, redemption, and unexpected bonds on the frontier, you'll find plenty waiting for you right here. Saddle up. Our next story begins soon.